Hello folks, how we doing? This is Steve with Backyard Fed. Today's video is for all you new gardeners out there, all the people that are wanting to learn. I know with the coronavirus and everything that's been going on, there's a lot more interest in trying to take care of yourself and growing your own food. So I'm just going to go over a few things, talk about the different things we can use for growing, how to plant your seed, what you got to do after you plant your seed depth, general information that you're going to need to know if you're going to want to get gardening. Now, one thing I do recommend, if you are going to be planting before your season, and your season, all right, it has to do with your last frost date. All right, everybody in their zip code has a last frost date. Like my last frost date, May 9th. All right, today is April 3rd. I should have probably already planted, but I've been doing a lot of stuff, getting a lot of stuff ready in the garden, and I'm just a little bit behind on where I should be, which makes no sense since we all have all the time in the world right now. So, one thing you definitely want to do, check your last frost date. You can Google it. You can look it up in the Old Farmer's Almanac. There's plenty of ways to find out your last frost date. Like I said, just literally ask Google. It will tell you. Now, beyond that point, all right, you're gonna want to know what you can grow in. Depending on your budget, there's a ton of different options. You can go with just these peat pellets. All right, this is Jiffy Mix peat pellets. Actually, I have one here. All right. They come like this. This is a Jiffy Mix peat pellets. All right, they actually are a wonderful thing. Like they come with the little topper for it. These here are wonderful because after you get these all in, you put that on top. You want to keep your seedlings wet. All right, before your seeds even sprout and turn into seedlings, you have to keep the moisture in them. So these are very important to have something covering them. Now, this is actually what the peat pot looks like because I literally had to put 15 cups of water in this tray to make these poof up, right? This is what these look like after they've had 15 cups of water. This is what they look like beforehand. It's nothing but compressed peat. So, before, after. It only actually took probably 3 minutes after I put all the water in. It just swells up, absorbs, wonderful. Now, these are great. You only have a limited amount of time that you can keep a plant in these. These are the bigger ones too. The smaller ones, I wouldn't even recommend getting the smaller ones, man. Unless you're going to have something that you literally just want to sprout and get in the garden. They're not going to give you very much time. They're literally about the size of a 50-cent piece and about that tall after they sprout. There's just not enough material there for the roots to live in for a very long time. All right, now, other than that, you can go with these. These are peat cups. I actually really like these peat cups. The reason I like them is because the cups themselves, obviously, peat. They're made out of peat. So you don't ever have to transplant out of this cup. You can literally just take this cup, dig your hole, put it into the ground. This cup will degrade. It will actually break down in the earth. Don't ever have to worry about it. Now, these are going to come in different varieties and sizes. Like you can get a thing of, I think it was 10 of these cups for $1.99. Not bad. These right here. And there's, what's in these? 36, I think. Yeah, 36 of those. And that was right around $14, I believe. So, this is a much cheaper option. And obviously you got to add your soil. Got to buy a little tin pan. This tin pan I got at the dollar store, it was $1. So, with 2 sets of cups and a tin pan, I mean, I'm looking at $5. You buy your soil. The starter mix soil, super cheap. I mean, you're looking at I don't know, maybe $6 to fill this tray. All right, same here. Now, all this is just a different size cup. These ones here, as you can see, like I said, these peat cups come in all different varieties and sizes. These ones here are not gonna hold the plant for a really long time. Just doesn't have enough material in the cup. If you leave something in here for over 2, maybe 3 weeks, you're gonna end up root bound. You don't want your plants to be root bound. And with me, for instance, I always plant 2 seeds, at least in everything. All right, because germination rates, no matter where you go, your germination rate is gonna be pretty good. There's actually stipulations and laws, and they have to be tested, and they have to have the germination rates and stuff before they can actually sell their seed. So all of them are just about equal. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's always stuff that's not as good a quality or whatever, but you don't have to go to, let's say, Baker Creek and spend $2.50, $3, $3.50, $3.75, sometimes $4.50 on a pack of seeds. You don't have to do that. I did that. I didn't buy a lot that were more than $2.50. Most of the seeds I bought were probably about $2.50, maybe $3. But they give you a good variety, good amount of seed in the bag. Most of them I think have right around 25 seed. Sorry, I need glasses. I'm old. So let's see. Yeah, this one's minimum of 40 seeds. So that's not a bad amount of seeds when you're going to end up with 400 beans, you know, and that's just off a few plants. Now, there are cheaper options. I mean, there's a lot of dollar stores and stuff. They will actually have packets of seeds for $1. You might only get 10 seeds in there. All right, and a lot of those seeds are from out of country, stuff like that. So I'm not sure how the regulations work on those for like germination. I do know I have tried some dollar store seeds and I did not have a lot of luck. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have a lot of luck with the dollar store seeds. But you can go places like Walmart and Myers or Home Depot, and they got like Burpees and a couple other different brands, and most of those do fall under the regulations and stuff. They're reputable companies. They've been around for a while. You may not get all heirloom seeds. Like me, I really prefer to have heirloom seeds. I'm just don't like too many hybrids. And I'm not saying hybrids are bad, because all a hybrid is, right? And I want to make this clear too. All a hybrid is say you got tomatoes, all right? So you got this kind of tomato here, this kind of tomato here. The bee left this flower and came to this flower, and it pollinated it. Next year, if you were to save the seeds out of this tomato that got pollinated by this bush, you might not get that same tomato. It might be that tomato, or it might be a whole new tomato. So, cross-pollination happens all the time. Happens in my garden. I don't really save my seeds for sale. Actually, as of this point, I haven't saved any seed. I plan on saving more of my seed. I personally don't care about cross-pollination at this point in time. I'm not selling them. So the seeds that I do save are going to end up being stored at my house, and I'm going to use them next year just to save myself money on more seeds. But where was I? I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. Okay, went over the peat pots, went over this. Now, like I was saying, these peat pots and stuff, they come in all different varieties. There are different options and stuff you can do. Oh, actually, while I'm talking about seeds real quick, this is very important. It's something that blows my mind that not every company does, okay? I'm gonna put it back on the old man glasses. All right, like this guy right here. This is M.I. Gardner. All right, he lives right here in Michigan, the same state I live in. Unfortunately, he's got a little bit better growing season than me. He's downstate, I'm upstate. But when I was talking about like different things you need to know about your seeds, okay, first off, all your seeds, when it comes to your last frost, you also want to know your first frost, okay, because that's going to give you your days for your growing season. All right, now like say for instance, these packets here, all right, the Baker Creek ones, they have got, you got the ideal temperature, the sprout in 5 to 10 days, the depth to plant your seed, plant spacing, frost hardy no, minimum full sun 8 to 12 hours. They got that kind of information. They got a little description here. It tells you a little bit about the plant, but nothing real major. I'm not going to remember when I order a bunch of seeds if this is a pole bean that climbs up a pole and put a trellis up and let it go, or if it's a bush bean. Right? So this doesn't tell me that, first off. Right? So that's disappointing, because that's something I need to know. I mean, when I looked at it in the catalog told me what it was. The catalog told me how long it took to germinate. The catalog told me how long it was till I could start getting the beans off the plant. This packet does not. Alright, and I really like Baker Creek. Really do. They've got such a wide variety of seeds. I mean, they've got more seeds than you could probably... They just have more seeds than you could even imagine. I mean, I got the free catalog, and there was more in there than I could even think of what to do with. Like, I didn't know what to pick, what not to pick. And then they've got their big catalog. Dude, you're gonna have 1,000 acres if you wanted to plant one of those plants for each individual seed they got. Like, it's just amazing. But they're lacking information on their packaging. And I find that to be a big disappointment, because that's very important. Like M.I. Gardner, all right, like I said, he's a guy here in Michigan. His name is Luke. He's got a YouTube channel. Check him out, because he's actually quite informative. I've learned quite a bit just from watching the guy myself. But on here, it tells me everything I need to know. All right? Tells me right off the bat that, oh, well, this is a melon, but like on the tomatoes and stuff, it tells me if it's determinate or indeterminate. That means, like, a determinate, first off, if you don't know what that is, like the difference between determinate and indeterminate. Determinate means it's a bush. It's only going to get to a certain size, and it's only going to produce fruit for a certain period of time. Indeterminate means it's going to keep growing. Some people actually let them just keep growing on the ground. I don't do that. I actually like to put a stake in the ground and let them grow up, keep them pruned a little bit to either 1 or 2 main stalks coming up. I prefer 1. Some people prefer 2. It's all personal preference. But that's the difference. Like, determinate is going to grow to one size. It's going to stay that size, and it's going to bear a certain amount of fruit. Indeterminate will keep growing. It'll get 8, 9 feet tall, and until that frost comes to kill it off, it's going to keep growing. And it will keep producing fruit, or tomatoes, or vegetables, if you want to call it a vegetable. It's fruit. So, that's the difference between there. But, like I was saying, M.I. Gardner, they have all of this information on their packets. And the thing that I love the most is they tell you right on here, alright, days to maturity, 75 days. 75 days. So I know in 75 days, and that's not from 75 days from you planting your seed. It's 75 days from your seed sprouting. It'll come up 2 little leaves. From that day, you will have 75 days, and I'll be able to pick this fruit. So, now, option number 3 you can use. Alright, these are just plastic solo cups that you buy at the store. Anybody can get them. I picked up, like, I think there's 200 cups in that package, and it was only like $8. So that's nice and cheap. Add your mix and soil in, put it in one of these little dollar store pans, good to go. Except, never forget, you always want to drill that hole right there in the bottom of them. Anything that you put your seedlings in has to be able to drain. That is very important. If you have too much water sitting in the soil, you will rot your seed will not grow, or it may sprout and it will start growing and then it's just going to die on you. So you'll have all these little sprouted seeds if you're really lucky, and then you're gonna be excited, you're gonna be happy, you're like, yes, my tomatoes, my lettuce, my squash, my beans, raring to go, and then everything's gonna die on you because you're gonna get mold, you're gonna get mildew, you're gonna get the green algae on there. You cannot allow your seedlings to sit in too much water. All right, now, just so I make the point of this, all right, when I plant in these, I am going to take on this, I'll take clear cellophane and I will cover this thing up. But that's only until the seeds sprout. Once those seeds sprout, you have to remove that. All right, just like this Jiffy Mix container, they come with the plastic dome that goes over it to turn it to like a little greenhouse and help keep that moisture in there. But that's only as long as it takes for those seeds to sprout. As soon as they sprout and those two little leaves come up, perfect. Take that cover off. All right, now, another thing you're going to want to know too is after you get these in and you got your little sprouts and everything you plant is going to come up, it's going to have two little leaves on it. All right, those aren't true leaves. All right, after those two little leaves, you'll notice you'll get two more leaves and they'll look totally different. That's fine because those are actually your true leaves. Those are the leaves of the plant. After your plant grows, those two very first leaves, that's just what they use to shovel up out of the soil and come out. It's all part of the seed. So as your plant grows and it gets bigger and you get more leaves and more leaves, those leaves are just going to die and fall off. Now, another thing is fertilizer. All right, a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, you got to fertilize your plants, you got to fertilize your plants, you got to fertilize your plants. You do, to an extent. All right, it's very important. This stage right here, you don't put fertilizer in this. Not one drop, not one pellet, nothing. All right, each one of these seeds has its own energy built into it. Like it's got its own fertilizer. It's prepared to do that growth. All right, it's kind of like when you look at a chicken egg. You crack open that egg, there's that little yolk, and then it's got all the whites around it. Part of that becomes a chicken, part of it is just to feed that chicken. Okay, your seeds are the same way. All right, obviously they don't have yolk, but they will feed themselves to get themselves out of the dirt. Now after they come out of the dirt, they've got their seed leaves, they get two true leaves. That's when you want to start adding fertilizer. Now, I do all watering from inside here. I don't ever pour my water on top, and I don't fertilize from the top. Every time I fertilize, it's going to be inside here, and that will absorb through the roots. Now, you want to make sure you have a water-soluble one, and you're going to have to cut it down. All right? These plants, when they're first coming up, they're fragile. They're very fragile. It's like a baby. All right. Like me personally, I'm about to turn 44. I can take this beer. I can take a drink of it. Sorry, I was thirsty anyway. But you give that beer to a baby, it's going to make them sick. It's just the way it goes. So if you over fertilize your baby plants, it's going to make them sick. They're going to die. So say the fertilizer you get says to use a teaspoon with a gallon of water. You use a quarter teaspoon with a gallon of water. You always want to dilute it. You don't dilute it by half, you always dilute it by 4 or more, right? Depending on you. But my rule of thumb is everything gets diluted down to a quarter, because they are too sensitive to take that much from the fertilizers. Just too sensitive. Now, also another thing you're gonna have to do is, if you don't have grow lights, you can start them off in window seals, stuff like that, but you have to make sure that the window seal that you're using isn't just getting light from the sun, it's getting direct sunlight. Alright, like, say this window here. Alright, the sun's over there, but the light still shines through this window because the sun's over there. But that's not direct sunlight. And it wouldn't be enough direct sunlight when it does get over there, because it only gives me an hour or two for direct sunlight. So, strong recommendation, get yourself some grow lights if you can. Order them on Amazon, they're actually really cheap. But, if you're using a window seal, you have to use direct sunlight. If your temperature's warm enough, bring them outside. Bring them outside. As long as you can, as long as it's not too cold, you're going to need to get them used to being outside anyway. Because if you grow these plants inside, and they've never been outside, they've never had direct sun, they've never felt the wind, you're going to put them outside, you're going to put them in your garden, the leaves are going to burn, the plants are going to fall over, the wind's going to knock them over, you're going to lose your plants. So that's called hardening them off. So that's another thing you're going to have to know about. Basically what that is after your sprouts up, got your sprouts and stuff going, they get a little size to them, you start bringing them outside. Bring them out for a half an hour the first day. Wait 2 days, bring them out for another half an hour. You know, do that for a week. Then after a week, start bringing them out for an hour. You know, and halfway through that week, leave them out there for 2 hours. By the end of that week, try to leave them out there all day. And just keep an eye on them. You'll see if your plants are suffering. But you really want to take it slow the first few days at least. Don't sit there and just set your plants out in the sun and leave them there for 4 or 5 hours. You'll kill your plant. But another thing I wanted to talk about real quick is how to plant your seeds. Because a lot of people have no idea, which I've seen. I was actually quite guilty of that myself. I had no idea the depth of a seed to plant. So, actually here, I'm going to go ahead and I'll start with, what we got? Some green beans. So, the rule of thumb is if your seed, you take the width of your seed, here, this one here is a bean, so it's actually a pretty good size. So obviously this one here is going to be deeper. Because what you do is you take your bean and you go twice the width of your bean. So it's 1/4 inch wide, I'm going to go 1/2 inch deep. Get right in. Actually, I do always do 2 in each one. So before I forget, that one's got 2. I'm going to set these here. Now, if you have a smaller seed, alright? Smaller seed, what do I got? Where are my tomatoes? Right here. Tomatoes, they have small seeds. So, I'm going to start some tomatoes off. And like I said, it's exactly the same. It is just twice the width of your seed is how deep you plant it. What in the world is going on here? Alright, get in the bag, thank you. See, I don't know if you can see that, but there's probably 15 seeds in my hand right there. They are tiny. Actually, I sit right there for a minute. So these ones here, I'm probably going to do 3 of these. And they are barely going to go under. Is that 2 right there? That was 2 right there, wasn't it? Oh, that's just 1. Okay. So those are just barely going to sit on top of the soil, and I'm just going to brush a little soil on top. And it all has to do with how big your seed is, twice the width. That's how deep you plant it. It's nice and simple. If your seed's this big, you plant it that deep. You'll get other seeds that are just going to be ginormous. You'll get some seeds that are just little tiny ones, like squash and stuff. You've seen pumpkin seeds and stuff. People eat them. I think they're delicious. It's the only reason I grow pumpkins. Actually, I don't like pumpkin pie or anything, but I love eating the seeds. But like squashes and stuff, their seeds are pretty big, just like a pumpkin seed. These ones here, these are cucumber seeds. They're not nearly as big. As you can see, it's about an 1/8 inch wide, so I'm going to plant that a 1/4 inch deep. Sorry guys, I don't know how well you can actually see what I'm doing here. I'm actually just out in my dining room. We just finished dinner a little while ago, and my kids are being nice enough where they're not coming through and driving me crazy while I make this video for us. So I have to thank them for that. But if we do happen to have some come through, we know who they are. Got a bunch of kids in the house, kids and animals, and surprised my dogs aren't over here trying to grab stuff off the table, to be honest. Got a couple little puppies, they're kind of crazy. Let's see, what else do we need to go over? Oh, with the peat pots, how do you plant in the peat pots? I mean, these ones are obvious, you stick it in there. These peat pots, on the other hand, before you plant anything in this, you'll see it's got all the netting and stuff around it. This is what holds it together. You want to peel back the netting a little bit. Then just kind of break up the soil on the inside, or the peat on the inside, just to get it all loose. I just use a little screwdriver. You use a pen, pencil, whatever. And what do I want to put in the peat pot? Let's go with... Actually, what do I got over there? No. I'm going to go with some more tomatoes there. No, I'm not. I'm going to try some of these weird little melons I got. So, I decided to grow a bunch of stuff I hadn't heard of yet. So, I've got stuff here like cucumber melon, got tiger melon. Maybe I ought to do the tiger melon. I hear there's a movie going on right now. It's Tiger King or something that everybody's talking about. I looked it up on Netflix though. It does not look like anything I'd want to watch. But, you never know. Could be awesome. I've got the Kajari melon. These are supposed to be a lot like cantaloupe flavored. Where these ones here, my wife loves honeydew and I didn't get any honeydew seeds. But, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Doubly d'Or? Yeah, something like that. But this is supposed to taste a lot like honeydew, so hopefully my wife likes that. She doesn't beat me up for not actually getting honeydew. So yeah, we'll go ahead and plant some of these. Let's try these little jelly melon things. They look weird. We're going to try them. Hopefully they're delicious. My kids will definitely let me know. You know, I send my daughter out a lot. She's 12, about to turn 13 this year, or next year actually. Or no, this year. Turns 13 here really soon. And I would send her out to the garden. I learned that's kind of a mistake. Because my daughter cannot stop eating all the cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes. Alright, I'm going to do 2 of these in this. And I will have to get rid of the weakest plant. There's not enough room in there for 2 to grow. Like I said, I like doing more than 1 seed. And the reason I like doing more than 1 seed, alright, just to make that verified and why I like doing it and stuff, is the simple fact that if you take and you put 1 seed in every one of these cups, and then you do get an unlucky seed that doesn't germinate, you'll be stuck with an empty cup. I don't like empty cups. I'm planting 100 things. I want 100 things to grow. So with this here, what I will do is after I get these planted, if I get lucky and they both sprout up, I can either break this apart and transplant them into a cup or somewhere else, or I can just snip one off. Now with the peat pots and netting and everything else, I've never actually tore one of those apart. So I would probably go ahead and say I'm just going to snip one of those off. Another thing I strongly recommend you have right off the bat when you start doing this, you can see how I'm setting these bags in right where I'm doing all of them. I'm doing that because I won't remember where these seeds are. All right, my memory is not great when it comes to remembering lots of stuff all at the same time. You ask me anything else, I'm good with. Just these are gonna get moved around. You're never gonna. I don't know if anybody would remember where they are. So grab these. These are little plastic labels, sticks. You literally just take them out, take a Sharpie, write your plan on it, stick it in. That's all you got to do. You can't leave the packets there. Obviously, they've still got more seeds in them. If they get wet, those seeds will go bad. So you can't just leave your packet in there while you're watering stuff. You'll rot your seeds. Bad thing to do. Pick up some plant label sticks. I got these ones, they're plastic. You can actually recycle a lot of different things. So you don't even have to pay for these. I was actually hoping I had some old like sour cream containers or cottage cheese containers. You can split those up into strips. Work the same exact way. They are perfect. I have used popsicle sticks before. I'm not a real big fan of using the popsicle sticks. They rot out in the ground. Water will wick up them and they will take the Sharpie right out. It'll be just smudge. You can't read anything it says. So that's why I strongly recommend using plastic ones. Use plastic from containers that you don't use anymore, stuff like that. Yeah, folks, I think that's pretty much all I've got for you right now. Other than that, I ask you to go down, like the channel, subscribe. We'll have a ton of different videos and stuff this year. We actually expanded our entire garden. Last year we just had a little parcel over here. I've went completely around the entire yard. So our garden is going to be pretty ginormous this year. I don't know how well I'm going to do with that. It's going to be a little overwhelming. I think I've got it covered, but I think yeah, it'll be interesting. But oh, actually there is one thing that's very important. Watering your plants. I do not want to skip out on that one. Because guys, watering your plants, holy cow. All new people. Everybody. I was guilty of it. I overwatered like crazy. I was so scared that my plants were drying out, that they needed watered. And I killed off a lot of the stuff I was starting. Like a lot of it. Just by having too much water. That goes back to, like I was saying earlier, you can't let this stuff sit in water. But you need to keep it watered. So, like the best thing I can say is you can see the top of the soil. It's a dark brown, folks. It's a dark brown. Alright? When it's dry, it's a lot lighter in color. Alright? And because I water from the bottom, it will wick up. So I know when I'm starting to see this soil and it's starting to dry out on top, then I know it's time to water. Because even though, say this cup is dry on top up here, it's still gonna be wet down here. Because it's not gonna dry down, it's not gonna dry down here first. It always dries up here first. So, always touch your soil. That's the biggest thing I can tell you is touch your soil. Like, if you got stuff growing in here, just go through, give it a little dig, see how that soil feels on the inside, all right? You can feel the top, it's dry. That doesn't mean you have to water. It means you're gonna water soon, but it doesn't mean you have to water. You have to watch how much water you add. Like these here, just add a little bit of water. If it doesn't soak all the way up to the top and that water, or this dirt is still a light brown, you add a little bit more water. After a few times of doing it, you're going to know exactly how much water you have to add every time. But be careful when you're watering. You do not want to over water your plants. and you do not want to underwater your plants. You're probably better off underwatering them a little bit than you are overwatering them at all. So keep that in mind. Overwatering, extremely bad. Underwatering is bad too. But overwatering, bad. Don't do it. Always feel your soil. It will tell you if you need the water. Like I said, after a few times, you're going to be able to look at it and you will recognize if that needs water. But until you get to that point, stick your finger in there and feel your soil. It's the same thing with outside, folks. You don't want to overwater outside either, even after your plants are this tall. Don't overwater them. You'll still kill them. Yeah, and I really think that's about it. I guess if you have any questions, please, if you have any questions, put them down in comments. And yeah, I'd love to hear what you got to say, and stick with me and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be showing you how these are working out here pretty soon. We'll show you after we got them out of the sprouting stage and under the lights and everything. Watch them grow and get them planted in the ground, and got the chickens out back. We'll see how they're doing, and there's gonna be a lot of stuff this summer. So please stick around, keep watching. Till next time, folks. Let your backyard feed you, and we'll see you another day.